This past week, we found ourselves in the famous old Cock Tavern up in Hackney for a Burns Night inspired tap takeover from one of the hottest breweries to hit the scene, and one that should be a mainstay for a long time to come. And as we indulged on so many good brews that night, seeing one of their cans parked in my fridge, I just knew this would be my next review. So today we welcome to the channel for the very first time, and definitely not the last time, Glasgow's finest, Overtone Brewing Co. Founded back in 2018 by Chinese native Bo Wei Wang, a lover of both fine beer and music, so a man after my own heart. As I've got to tell you, last night I attended my very first full-on gig since the pandemic began, and I gotta say, I'm feeling more than just a little beat up now. And Bo Wei's love of music bleeds directly into Overtone's art design and branding, claiming to be inspired by the abstract and dynamic patterns found in EDM music videos back in the day, or maybe the abstract and dynamic patterns found on the Windows Media Player back in the day. Bowie was joined by an East Coast native, Dan Miller, and Dan brought with him that New England flair. It's pretty safe to say Overtone have been smashing the New England style since bursting onto the scene. And today we have one big boy, an oat creamed triple IPA, Broken Clouds, a mosaic dominated TIPA. So, being mosaic led, we can definitely expect some of those tropical notes, mango really at the fore, some citrus notes in there as well. I tend to find it a little herbal and earthy at times, so we'll see what this brings. Loaded with oats and lactose for a velvety, smooth mouthfeel. And if you guys know me at all by now, you know just how much I like me a thick, smooth, creamy mouth to my brews. So again, this is ticking all the right boxes. Huge flavors of juicy passion fruit and ripe mango, along with vibrant berry and earthy notes. And aside from that mosaic, we've got some mosaic cryo in there, which would help boost those flavors even more. The classic Citra, and one of my all-time favorites, the Galaxy. So it's safe to say that's quite a well-rounded, tropical-sounding brew. So it's got me chomping at the bit. So let's get pouring. So it is super tropical, lots of that advertised mango in there, and there is a subtle pineapple in just behind it. And you are getting a little sense of that creaminess in there too. It's got a real juiciness, a real fruit punchy vibe to it. It smells really absolutely divine. And that mango is the first thing that really tickles the tongue. But it is quite a bitter, quite underripe mango. And that bitterness is aided by a huge, zesty citrus. There is a real juicy tropicalness in there too. Definitely getting a feel for some of that creaminess as well. And boy, is it silky smooth. And that bitterness carries from those top notes right into the finish, where it's quite dry and very citrus rindy and lingers long in the mouth, just urging you to take another swig. And there is just a subtle sweet malt in those back ends. And I've got to admit, this is another one of those cheeky tippers that really hides that weight of alcohol well. There is a subtle syrupy alcohol kick to it, but it is hidden beautifully behind those fruity notes. Although maybe I spoke a little too soon, as that alcohol really is starting to creep into the picture just a little more, and with it, it's bringing a real earthy quality to those middles. And that isn't the only change, as those bitter, rindy citrus notes are really starting to dominate the top notes as well as that finish. And it's gone from that juicy, tropical New England vibe to a clean, citrus, bitter West Coasty, but it has remained oh so silky smooth throughout. Those cream notes have been an unbroken cloud, carrying through those mids beautifully. Not sure if it's last night's brews catching up with me, but boy am I starting to feel that alcohol swirling around inside. And now we're down at the beer. As you may have noticed, things have switched up ever so slightly. Some of those tropical mango notes really are starting to battle their way back into the tops. That alcohol and that creaminess are still balancing out the middles. And that citrus bitterness really making its presence felt. And an almost lime note has started to appear in that bitter finish. I don't know if it's because I clocked berries on the back just there, but it does have a very forest fruit vibe going on in the background there. And almost a subtle red wine feel to it. Just from reading that can, I was frothing at the gills. Then you get your nose in, and boy, do those juicy tropical notes hit you. Led by massive waves of mango, a little assistance from a subtle pineapple, with a soft creaminess right in behind. Then you get stuck in, and that mango really hits you. Although it isn't quite as sweet as that nose would lead you to believe. If, of course, you expected that much sweetness in a 10.5% TIPA. And it's more of an underripe bitter mango that really leads things. And that bitterness is only emboldened as those citrus notes start to take hold into the finish, with a dryness that lingers long in the mouth. Then there's that booze that starts to creep in, quite subtly at first, in the form of a sweet syrupiness, before taking full hold the more you indulge. But while it's in that sweet syrupy stage, it does bring a sweet maltiness to the fore, before they're replaced by heavier notes of booze and a real earthy quality. But as things wear on, those tropical notes do make a bit of a reappearance. And with them some fruits of the forest, giving a subtle red wine-like vibe in the background. But all the while it is those bitter citrus notes that really dominate things. And as much as I was expecting a good old New England style, it definitely does resemble more of a good old school Westie. And of course there's that body, which is just smooth, silky, creamy, and just oh so drinkable. They called the brew Broken Clouds, but Liquid Clouds would have been much more fitting, as this heavenly experience was only missing the little cherubs with harps. I said that Overtone were one of the hottest new breweries in the land, and they just continue to impress each and every time. I'm barely over this one, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. Whatever the next one may be.